I can see the people here running and playing, working, enjoyed. And the kids also. People here taking their dogs around in parks. We miss these things. I want to tell you something. I have a dog, a pit bull dog in my house. I put him in the roof. You know, the pit bull is a strong dog. So I'm afraid to take him down to walk with him the street, because the street is crowded and it's many people. We lived in 130,000 people lived in a small square, like as Nathan told you, it's a small place for 103,000 people live there. I can't walk with my dog in the street. I'm afraid to attack somebody here or there. When I saw the people here in America walking with their dogs and playing with their kids outside and parking, I actually, honestly, I feel jealous. I want this life for my children, for my grandchildren also. I hope if anyone from the American government hears me, I hope if you want, we want only justice. This is what we want as a Palestinians in the Palestinian Authority.
And Nathan, let me ask you, you first wrote this essay in 2021 that appeared in the New York Review of Books. Headlined, "A Day in the Life of Abd Salama, One Man's Quest to Find His Son Lays Bare the Reality of Palestinian Life Under Israeli Rule." The article was 50 pages. It in itself was a book, and then you expanded it to the book. The main title, the same, "A Day in the Life of Abd Salama." What did you learn as you expanded this investigation? And we've turned to you for analysis in Jerusalem of what's happening there. What surprised you most and what affected you most as you went on this journey with Abed?
The book shares just a page or so of text with the article, despite sharing the same title. And the aim of the book is entirely different than the article. The aim of the book is to immerse people viscerally in the lives of Palestinians living on the other side of this wall, and to make them feel and understand what that life is like. And one of the things that struck me more than anything as I was working on it was how much pain there is just beneath the surface in every single Palestinian family. And the book has Abed's name in the title, but it tells the story of many different characters whose lives collided on this day. And, you know, one of the themes of the book is the degree to which this oppressive system touches the most intimate decisions in people's lives. I tell a story of Abed's early romance and his first marriage, and at one point he has a job that takes him into the center of Jerusalem, and he is afraid of losing his access to the city because of his green-colored ID. And he and many other people at that time went and sought out wives who had blue IDs or Israeli citizenship. They were choosing marriage partners in order to keep their freedom of movement, in order to keep their jobs. This is the degree to which this huge oppressive system affects ordinary people. I tell the story of a woman, a doctor named Huda Dahbour, who happened to be on her way to treat Bedouin. She worked for the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, and she was on her way with her medical team to go and treat a group of Bedouin not too far from the site of the accident, and she stumbled on this horrific sight. And she pulled over with her team and helped to rescue children from the bus. And I tell part of Huda's story. And, Huda had a boy, a teenage boy, who quite naturally threw stones at occupying forces in his town, outside his school, who were harassing him and other students every day. And at 1:30 in the morning, Israeli jeeps show up and bang on her door and say to Huda, "We're here for your son, Hadi." And she can do absolutely nothing. She stands there with tears running down her face, realizing that the jaws of this state are going to come and snatch her boy and take him away to who knows where. And she spent over 10 days looking just to find what cell he was in, where he was located. And that feeling of utter powerlessness that is one that every Palestinian family feels, powerlessness to protect your own children. So the theme for me, what was most striking as I talked to these families, is how much pain there was, and how much the state had crept into every single facet of their lives.
Nathan Thrall, what are your thoughts about President Biden meeting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the UN and then inviting him to the White House?
This is entirely unsurprising. This is what the U.S. has done under every administration. It doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat. They're all supporting the system of oppression. And we as Americans are all complicit in it. And not only are we not doing anything to stop it, we're funding it. We're giving Israel nearly $4 billion in aid every year, in military aid every year. And we're protecting Israel even from UN Security Council resolutions that are condemning settlements that the U.S. is supposedly opposed to. As Israel spits in the U.S.'s face and won't even restrain the settlement building that it's doing, the U.S. is handing out gifts, political gifts to the most right-wing Israeli government in recent memory. Not only is Biden inviting Netanyahu to the White House, they just admitted Israel into a coveted visa waiver program, allowing visa-free travel for Israelis to the United States. The basis of that program, as specified in U.S. law, is reciprocity. The states that are admitted to it must treat all U.S. citizens equally. And Israel is not meeting that requirement. A group of leading senators have said that very clearly in a letter that they wrote to Secretary of State Blinken. And it's undeniable that a Palestinian American who travels from, let's say, college in the United States and comes back to visit is treated entirely differently than an Israeli American coming home to visit from college in the United States. And we had, during the trial period for this visa waiver program, we had Palestinian Americans who couldn't rent cars at the airport. And that's not to mention all of the other restrictions that they faced. Israelis, Americans would come and go and visit a family member wherever they wanted. 40% of the Palestinian population under occupation lives in Gaza. And if you've got a relative in Gaza and you're a Palestinian American, you can't go visit that relative unless it's a first-degree relative. And then you can only do so. So grandchild, for example, you can't visit. And if you do have a first-degree relative, you can apply for a permit to visit them once per year. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So the U.S. is deeply, deeply complicit in a system that not only treats people differently based on their ethnicity, religion, or national origin, but treats different categories of American citizens differently. And we've accepted that.
And the significance of these mass protests like Israel's never seen in decades, of hundreds of thousands of Israelis marching in the streets, saying that the Prime Minister, Netanyahu, is violating Israeli democracy by curtailing the independence of the judiciary.
Both sides of the protests over the judicial reform in Israel, what they share in common is this notion that Israeli democracy is at stake. The people pushing for the reform are going to destroy Israeli democracy, and the people opposed to the reform want to preserve Israeli democracy. But the fact is, and it's evident just in the simple example of the characters in this book. We have Jewish characters in this book who live right next door to Abed's community of Anata. They live in a settlement called Anatot, built on Abed's family land in part. And these people travel back and forth. They do not go through passport control when they do it. They vote from their settlements. They're not filing absentee ballots when they vote. They are inside the State of Israel. They are fully a part of the State of Israel in every sense, and they have full rights as Israeli citizens. Living right next to them in the same territory are people like Abed and his entire community who do not have freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly, not to mention voting rights and everything else. And that's millions of people living under the same state without rights based on their ethnicity. I do not know of any definition of democracy that would include such a state within it. So the notion that this judicial reform is about preserving or not preserving Israeli democracy looks ludicrous to anybody who has stepped foot in Anata and Anatot.
Nathan Thrall and Abed Salama. Nathan is the author of the new book out this week, A Day in the Life of Abed Salama, Anatomy of a Jerusalem Tragedy. I'll be doing a public interview with them tonight here in Manhattan at 5:30 p.m. at the New York University Arthur L. Carter Journalism Institute at 20 Cooper Square. Non-members of the NYU community must pre-register. You can visit democracynow.org for more details. That does it for our show. A happy belated birthday to our director, Becca Staley, and Soledad Aguilar Colon. And condolences to our audio engineer, Miguel Noguera, and our former producer, Ana Noguera, on the death of their brother, José Enrique Neto, an actor, playwright, and puppeteer in Lisbon, Portugal. Democracy Now! Is produced with Mike Burke, Renee Feltz, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Nermeen Sheikh, Maria Tarasena, Tammy Warnoff, Trina Nadura, Sam Alcoff, Maria Studio, John Hamilton, Robbie Karen, Honey Massoud, and Sanji Lopez. Our executive director is Julie Crosby. Special thanks to Becca Staley, John Randolph, Paul Powell, Mike DeFilippo, Miguel Noguera, Hugh Grand, Dennis Moynihan, David Prude, Dennis McCormick, Matt Ely, and Emily Anderson. I'm Amy Goodman. This is Democracy Now!